What's up everyone, it's your boy Felix the Fox, and today we are talking about Pokémon Home. More importantly, how it has added a new spark to the gotta catch 'em all mantra that started the Pokemon series in the first place. Now, I know Pokemon Home has been out for a couple years and I'm a little late to the game, but I really want to talk about how it has made the process of completing the Pokédex easier, getting exclusive Pokemon easier, and reconnecting that trading aspect and charm of the early days with the link cable. But also how it can kind of take away something special about the franchise and really take away some of the playtime. I mean, if you were playing these games with a hard set idea of catching every single one, the process just got harder and so complicated that if you really wanted to catch them all, you need money, time, and if you're a kid, a mom willing to take you to anywhere and do anything to even try and pull this off, especially past the third generation of games. And after that, man, good luck, because between timed events, region exclusive events, game exclusive events, and a bunch of random DLC free invites, I mean, it's kind of like Pokemon was trying to make it impossible for you to catch all the Pokemon in these games without just spending a bunch of money. Oh wait! And man, when they found out an easy way for you to finally catch all the Pokemon you can want and organize it in one space that spreads across all platforms over the past 3 decades, something Pokemon fans have wanted for forever, they added a paywall to it. And they said, hey, we're going to take away one of the paywalls pretty soon, so you better act fast. Coming off the heels of all that going on, Pokemon Home has made it 10 times easier to acquire all the Pokemon in every game while also still making the Pokemon company money by doing it. The only problem with that is, it's still kind of a pain. The Pokemon Home subscription, I honestly can't believe I pay for this, but in reality, I love it. The thing is, when I first downloaded it and had my attention for like a solid month, just straight dedication. I mean, out of nowhere, I had to drive harder than Ash Ketchum's first Pokemon dream to get every single one of these things registered in that Pokédex and have every single one of them just crammed into this app. I don't know why, but I was just going so hard, man. I would have the 3DS set up with the Switch and then the GameCube with Pokemon Stadium over on the other side. And on this side of the desk, I had my Game Boy out. I mean, just for like a solid month, grinding these things out like crazy. And I don't even know why. It doesn't even really matter when you think about it, but I was just wanting it so badly. And then that's kind of when I realized right around the time the remakes were coming out for Diamond and Pearl, how easy this thing had just made it for not only the regional decks, almost like stupid easy for that, but if you know what you're doing, basically with these remakes included into the new Pokemon Home system, the national decks also became really easy to get. I mean, I really was just going to hammer my way through those games and knock out the story and then be done with them, but with the included underground and all the Pokemon I had access to beforehand as well, I mean, this was going to be insane. So unlike most of the population, I had a great time with BDSP. I did the national decks and had an amazing time doing it. So transitioning to when Legends Arceus comes out, okay, yes, quick side note, best game in the series, hands down. Won't touch on that too much here, video for later, but just had to get that out. So when Arceus was coming out, I was really excited to see all the new Pokemon and all the new variations. Because of those things, this game didn't cause a problem we will see later on because the Pokemon you can catch in Arceus have all those different forms. Meaning to like get the dex entry that you need, you can't just simply put all the Pokemon you need in there. Sometimes it's probably because of Pokemon you can only catch and use in this game, which sometimes is like annoying with Pokemon Go and going back and forth with that, but it also makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. First, you don't just want to be throwing legendaries willy-nilly everywhere, right? And also because of the Hisuian variants and all the other Pokemon that are really found in that game. So now, when Scarlet and Violet came out, I only really had to catch the new Pokemon that were in that game to complete my decks, which is really all I wanted to do in the first place, because after Sword and Shield, BDSP, and Arceus, I had everything. So I simply just dropped everything the moment I could into Scarlet and Violet to get that dex entry. But again, here's where we run into that first problem, the first rebuttal to our argument about adding playtime, because this simply took away a lot of playtime for the game, which I mean, again, not really complaining about. I mean, look at this thing. But it's also because I spent way more playtime in those other games that I never thought I would just to fill up my Pokemon Home. But in turn, I didn't spend that much time with Scarlet and Violet because I didn't really want to, but then I didn't have to. See, these games are a lot of fun, but golly, this motion sickness sucks, man. The way it runs and looks just causes me to have a headache and it makes my stomach feel sick. They have a lot to offer, but most of it is really bland to me, so thank God I didn't have to spend all my time catching Pokemon here for the decks. I mean, but the catching I did do was fun. not as fun as Arceus, obviously, or exploring for that matter too, but the trading was cool. I'm really glad Pokemon Home was here to do a lot of the heavy lifting, so I didn't need to spend more time in that game than I needed to. So again, the catch-22 here is that while Pokemon Home added a ton of playtime for BDSP and Sword and Shield, it also took away from the experience of Scarlet and Violet to me, which I'm not sad about, but imagine down the line, okay? And we're putting on the 10 hats for this one. But Switch 2 comes out, new Pokemon games come out on it, maybe even they put the classic games on there as well. Now we're really reaching for that, but you get my opinion, right? The next new Pokemon game had the national dex, but that game had no way to get all the national dex that it had to offer, since, most of them don't because the devs aren't putting over 900 mod just in the base game. Then Pokemon Home comes in, you drop in your 800 living dex that you've been working on for the past 5 years into this game, and boom, you're all set. Achievements unlocked. But if that next game, that next mainline game is really amazing, and if it is worthy of all the playtime it has to offer, you just took away its biggest challenge. And as a Pokemon game, its identity, really. Now, I get it, it is just an option. You don't have to do it like that. I mean, good freaking luck doing it any other way if there is a national dex in there. See you in 5 years. But the challenge, I think, should always be there. I'm worried we are heading into a world where the Pokemon games won't have any extra content at the end of the story, just relying on you to get to the regional dex and move on with your life and not really put in a national dex at all because they don't do it that often. But if Pokemon Home is on the platform and it just keeps growing like it has been, then shouldn't the point of all this be to put the national dex in the game? Like, hear me out. If the Pokemon Company is going through all of this trouble with the 3DS and Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home and all of that fun stuff, if they are going through all those hoops that big companies really don't like to go through unless it's making the money, which it is, but still, then I feel they should have to put a national dex in, right? Like, there should be no reason at this point, this far into the life cycle of Pokemon Home and the games that are on it right now, that the next mainline game in the series shouldn't have a national dex. It needs to be in there. Please put it in there. Or else Pokemon Home just becomes a digital controlled storage unit for the rest of its life. I know it can add and take away from the gameplay, but let's let the devs figure out ways to implement it more into the game. That way Pokemon, as a series and a franchise, can, and everybody say it with me now, finally evolve as a series.